I got my tooth pulled the other day. It's bothering me. And I can't get my computer to charge. I'm going to have to put it somewhere else so it can charge. That's why it's 12 o'clock, so I'm just going to do this video. But this video is going to be on street legend Butch Jones, who passed away last month. I don't think they had the funeral yet. So we just going to go back down memory lane with YBI and Butch Jones and best friends during that time. The 1980s it was a good time, but it also was a bad time, but that's another topic for another day. So his real name was Milton Jones, but they called him Butch, the former leader of the notorious 1970s and 80s Detroit heroin gang, Young Boys Incorporated. And it was so funny. I had been living off Dexter and Sturtevant for a long time, and I did not know that they was rolling, selling dope on the corners all that time until I went to Central and graduated in 1984. I didn't even know that. But he passed away on January 7th, 2026 of a heart attack. And he had just got out of prison in November, I believe, off of parole, off the halfway house, I'm sorry, in November. I wonder if he took that, whatchamacallit, that jab, which is now known to cause all kind of heart problems. So he died at age 70, shortly after being released from the federal prison to a halfway house. He was known as the Henry Ford of heroin. Jones was instrumental in creating the YBI, a drug organization that dominated Detroit narcotics trade and influenced gang structures nationally. He did, man. If the dope fiends have to have their fix early in the morning. And was that Dwayne? No, that wasn't Dwayne. What street was that? Martindale. Man, them cars would be lined up all the way down the street. Oh, thank you, Jasmine. Thank you. Them cars would be lined up all the way down the street of them getting dope. I remember that vividly. And so he passed, notorious Butch Jones. I'm in Detroit, and they haven't had his funeral yet. I just checked. And he was just released from parole 2 months ago, and now he's dead. So this is how Butch Jones, this is how he looked. That's Butch Jones. Detroit culture. Let me see. A leader of the notorious Detroit heroin gang, Young Boys Incorporated, in the 70s and 80s, died of a heart attack. He was 70. So the Gangster Report did an article. He is nice. Well, I don't know how nice he was, but because a lot of people died under his thing. During the late 70s and 80s, Jones led the groundbreaking Young Boys Incorporated and revolutionized the dope game with his marketing distribution, because at that time he only employed people under 18, because they wouldn't be charged as adults or anything, and they'll get picked up, locked up with dope, and get released. So he changed the home game in drug selling by employing the youth to do it, to stand out on the corners and sell the dope. And he also and transportation innovations in wholesale narcotics trade. He did less than a decade in the feds for his YBI ring from 84 to 92 before returning to Detroit underground, taking over the Dog Pound gang in his old West Side YBI stumble grounds on Dexter Avenue. And I grew up right there and didn't even know. Thank you, Christy, for subbing. I appreciate you. Thank you, love. Jones was convicted in June 1996 murders of Dog Pound gang co-founder Pat Webb and Dog Pound hitman Anthony Fat Mo Shelton, who had carried out the contract killing of the Webb days prior. Honestly, he was a good man. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. I remember going to his house with a friend of mine, and this was like 1985. I didn't know him personally. In 2008, at age 53, he was sentenced in federal court to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty to drug charges that involved two murders. Authorities allege he sold cocaine and marijuana between 1995 and 2001. At the time of the sentencing, Robert Coso, head of Detroit DEI, said this sentence assures the community that Milton Butch Jones, a violent drug trafficker, will remain incarcerated well past his 80th birthday. Well, they didn't because he had just turned 70. He is a dangerous man, and the community is much safer place with him behind bars. Butch Jones was one, if not the most transformative underground figure in Detroit history. The city's entire drug economy and way of doing business changed when he came on the scene. It was night and day. And there was an apartment building 2 blocks from me on Richton and Dexter. And I did not know it would be just so many young men out there. So many. Martindale, Dwayne. I mean, they was out there on them corners. I remember when they caught Kurt McGirt, they had taped off all of Dexter, all the way down. I stayed between Homer and Petoskey, all the way down to Petoskey, and they called him on Cortland right around the block. You got to go, Christy? Okay, love. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you. They had called him right around the block from me. He was the Henry Ford of heroin, and he was very proud of that reputation. His vision and innovation as a gangster were only matched by his sheer viciousness and ruthless ambition. YBI's legacy, and in that Jones' legacy, is monumental and still resonates on the streets of Detroit today. That is a fact. Almost a half century later, the YBI brand, long disbanded, still has currency and meaning. That's because of Butch Jones. In December 2020, his attorney here, Gurwitz, filed a motion in federal court asking for compassionate release from prison because of his ill health and the threat of COVID among inmates. Gurwitz wrote that Jones, who was 65 at the time, was wheelchair bound. Damn, I didn't know that. And suffers from several serious health conditions that limit his life expectancy to less than 5 years. His listed illnesses was end-stage renal disease, kidney disease that made him dependent on dialysis 3 times per week, and type 2 diabetes. Damn. These and his other serious medical conditions are extraordinary and compelling reasons that warrant compassionate release. He wrote to Judge, U.S. District Judge Mark Goldsmith denied the request, noting that Jones has already contracted and recovered from COVID. The Court of Appeals upheld his ruling. Damn. Bernstein writes that YBI sold drugs on elementary school playgrounds, using minors for all hand-to-hand buys, and moved their kilos of heroin around the city in taxi cabs. That is a fact. They did do that. YBI was a precursor to some notorious drug organizations, including the Curry Boys. I remember when they had the theaters downtown, they had something called the Adams Theater. And I remember going down there to the movies, hanging out, and all the Curry Boys was down there. Sure was. Chambers Brothers, Curry Boys and Chambers Brothers was from the east side. And Pony Down was 14th, like on the west side of Detroit. At the end of the day, however, he was a brutal killer, and that can't be overlooked, Bernstein said. Wow. So we just gonna go back and look at the life of Butch Jones. Let me find all my stuff. Oh, what I got. And Best Friends. Best Friends was a separate organization, but they was assassination. They was a hitman group. And one notorious guy from the Best Friends is Nate Boone Croft. And he's still alive today. And I think he got like 19, 20 bodies. Man, where's my stuff at, Butch Jones? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Where's my Butch Jones? I must have passed it. Oh, here we go. This is an interview with Butch himself.
That's what's up. And what about Seal? People want to know what's you and Seal relationships. What Seal still with YPI?
Seal's one of my best friends, man. I talk to him every month. He's going through some health issues right now.
Oh, I hope he get better soon.
He good. Yeah, he good though. He send me money every month, man.
Oh, that's what's up.
Oh yeah, he loved me to death, man. He been trying to do some legal work. He had got me a lawyer and everything, trying to help get me out of here,
That's what's up.
Now, you know what? Now, I did meet Sylvester Steele through a guy that I was dating that was part of YBI. So I did meet him. He was like the co-founder.
But yeah, he's just waiting for me to touch down. He talked to the crime boss every month. They always get together on what they're gonna do for me when I come home and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Crime boss already in charge of the plane for me whenever I touch down. To fly me out here to California so we can sign these papers on that marijuana string.
That's what's up.
Yes.
And how you?
He ain't got number love for me. I ain't got number love for him, man.
That's good. How did y'all link up? How did you link up with Seal, or was they already formed?
Oh man, that was a hell of a story, man. One of my best friends named Milwaukee Jack. He was going out of town for me, cop that blow.
Mm-hmm.
And so at this particular time, the people in Chicago that we were spending money with, they didn't have nothing. So he came back and told me, he said, man, I know this guy named Seals. He say, he be having some work. He said, what I'm gonna do is bring him over here and meet you. So I had a trap house on the east side, and he brought him over to the trap house, and me and Seal just hit it off, man. He gave me a hell of a deal. He gave me one of the Godfather deals that I couldn't refuse.
Okay.
So I started spending money with him. I ain't looked back. I had never met nobody that had that much heroin in my life. You always hear about the Italians having this and that, but I'm telling you, my man was the real deal Holyfield. He can hit your hand with 10 keys and didn't think nothing of it.
And how strong was it back then? Because it was a different ball
back
then.
It was some of the strongest heroin that I had ever seen. It was China 4. It was one of the strongest grade heroins that you can get. It was China 4 with a morphine base.
Damn.
Yeah, that
And they
real
couldn't
blue
come no
magic.
strong. Yeah, with the real blue magic, real old spill. 2 hits and you out of there.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Detroit News did a story on it.
Mm-hmm.
It was called 48 Hours.
Okay.
I had a blow called Checkmate because I play chess. I had a blow called Checkmate, and it was so strong, I had put a limit on how many packs people could buy. You know, these guys, man, they, no offense, are some real slick dudes, man. They would bring their friend to buy 2 packs, and they buy 2 packs.
This call is from a federal prison.
Much, and they were just out of there. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It wasn't my fault, but the thing was, the blow was just, it was laying like that. It was real hair rod.
Not like this man-made stuff today.
No, not none of that shit. Shit that be laced up with shit and all that. No, this is real hoochie con.
That's right.
This is the voice of Butch Jones.
They done changed the law since you've been gone, and they have legalized the marijuana and all that. I see you saying.
Man, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I can't wait to touch down so I can flood the city with some good, strong bud that sticky, icky.
You feel that za?
Yeah.
Right. And see, now it's legalized. You feel me? So, you know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. I can go out there and sign these papers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Put the crime bosses putting the import and export business together as we speak.
That's right.
Damn.
And let them.
I'm bringing it in by the truckloads, man.
And let them.
I was doing it on the illegit side. Now I'm gonna do it legit.
That's right. Elevate.
Pay my taxes on it. Do everything that I'm supposed to do, and that's what it is.
Right. And stay in bounds of the law. Now ain't no sense to going outside of that. Now you feel me?
Oh no, when I was telling you didn't hear me when I said, man, we gonna bring that money back like it's '88, man.
That's right.
Every year gonna be '88.
You
Damn.
feel me?
Yeah.
And this time they can't take it from us. You feel me?
They can't take it from us. So
And
it's got a limit, man. So I hope Detroit is ready, you know. I hope they ain't scared of heights. Because we going all the way. I'm taking Detroit with me this time.
Well, Detroit, know what Detroit been asking folks since our last conversation? They've been tapping in, saying in the comments they want to see a YBI series. They want the YBI series.
Oh,
Yeah, that's getting ready to happen, man.
and they was working on the YBI series, and he done passed away. They was working it, so a friend of mine had mentioned that they had to revamp the whole story since he passed.
I got a guy on Finkel working on it as we speak. It's a guy called Sport Coat.
Mm-hmm.
Over there, he reached out to me. He trying to put something together. Then whatever you and Momo put together, you know, it's gonna happen, man. You know, God is good, man. It's definitely gonna happen, you know.
And then you got the music lined up. You know, you got a whole conglomerate built up. You know, around legitimate things this time. You feel me?
And see, that's the thing about me. I don't let no grass grow under my feet. I know how to put stuff together and make it pop off. When I want something to pop off, it's gonna pop off.
That's right. That's right. And where you go from what they do with that law? Did they vote on that law yet?
Yeah, everything went into effect November the 1st.
Okay.
That's why I say it's just a matter of time. My lawyer's working on some stuff right now as we speak.
That's
But you
right.
know, federal court is everything. I'm on their time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Shit don't work when I want it to happen. You understand what I'm saying?
That's
So
right.
it's kind of slow, but he gonna file it this week.
That's good. That's what's up. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And what about the book? How the book coming along?
Oh, the book is coming along good. It's called The Crime Boss, named after my man, the Crime Boss. And it's part 2. It's gonna tell about how I fell on this bit here, you know,
Okay.
and how everything was happening down there in the Cass Quarter, you know,
Okay.
and just waiting. He's just waiting for me to come home so we can put the final touches on it and everything.
that'll be what's up. The visual. You got to put the
Yep,
visual.
and that's what they was working on.
Yeah, we're gonna take the people down there and show all the people different spots when a person did start getting $200 a day. We gotta show them where it happened at.
You know, you need to put back out the old copy too. So when the new copy come back, you know, those who wasn't of age, back then when the first copy, where they could bring them up to speed. You feel me?
Yeah, well, the Crown Boss is working on that right now. He getting it
Revised.
words, some of the words straightened out in the first copy. He getting all that straightened out. So when he put it back out again, people gonna understand where we come from.
Okay, that's what's up. And let's get little Caesar, little Chris, you know, Chris Dockery from the east side. Let's get little Caesar his flowers. You know, that's an old friend.
Yeah, look, he was my man. I sure hated that when you know, when I heard that, you know.
Right.
They did him dirty, man.
That's right. Yeah, little Caesar.
This when he passed, so he got everything. I'm glad I found his channel.
Okay, all is well.
Yeah, I just had to wait my turn, you know.
That's what's up. Well, we can get back to where you left off at, wherever you want to go with it. You got the flow. You know, you can dress the streets.
All right. I just want to say, man, you know, I beat for a living. You know, I ain't a vegetarian, man. I beat for a living. And motherfuckers, you know, trying to see me. I'm trying to see them, but I'm working on my own safety.
That's
so I
right.
ain't got no quit in me. So I beat 24/7, 365. And I ain't never heard Eddie Jackson Jr. doing a motherfucking thing. He's a dick sucker to me. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you call a motherfucker a dick sucker and a bitch. That's you really feeling something. You know, you can't take that shit back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I get up, beef, and I like I say, I'm a soldier, man. That's what I do.
That's right.
So if that's what he wants, that's what he gonna get.
Damn.
I can't understand why his daddy should have told him, hey man, you don't want that. So you know something? Hey, I told him, I said,
I'm going past this.
Soon. And he gonna be tapping back in. I appreciate everybody tapping in. And know this, you know, we here to let y'all hear the real stories. And not somebody else's opinion. Y'all go hear from the horse's mouth. They gonna be able to tell you their stories, not what the court records say. We very well know that don't be the truth all the time, because most people don't get up there and speak their piece. They
who was more scandalous, Cliff Jones or Butch Jones? Because I was reading the story, the boys was some scandalous mother. I didn't know Butch Jones was that scandalous, man. I didn't know. I thought he was just all about money. I didn't know he was scandalous like that.
They all come from that same school of thought, that world and them same school of thought. Butch Jones, look, if you look at Butch Jones' story, it started, that YBI stuff started when? After he came from doing that jail bit.
Yep.
He came from penitentiary. That's when he got on with YBI. Butch, when YBI started, Butch wasn't part of it. He was in jail when them boys got there. When WW and them and Timmy and Raymond and Peoples and all them boys was blowing up, Butch was in jail. Butch came home and put the name on it, YBI and all that. He came home with the organizing it with the young guys and all that. He came from that school of world.
This nigga world, bro. We don't get into that shit.
Yeah, now you starting to get it.
Everybody around him,
all of them
masterminds.
If you think about all of them roles, no bull. And I have to applaud world though. Know what I'm saying? All of them boys rose after attending his school in prison. Just imagine if they really put him in a Fortune 500 business to run for real, what he could really do.
This is the Beat Factory 313, which is Detroit.
Met him. Was under his protege. Was it one of his proteges in that prison, dog?
And that go back to what you said, when there ain't no rules in the game, he probably installed that, how to finesse through them rules.
You apply the rules that fit you.
Facts.
To win. You play the rules to win. So that means everything go with them. They doing everything to win. So a person can take that how they want to take it. I'm saying it just like that. They doing everything it is for them to win. So whatever you won't do, because you stand according to the rules, like me, I was trying to stick to the rules that I was taught. They doing all the opposite of it. As what they doing the rules too, they applying that too. Don't get it twisted. They gonna apply the rules. Make sure you stay in them. And then they doing everything against them too. They doing both. They doing the rules and against the rules. Whatever benefits them to survive, whatever their agenda is.
Facts.
You feel me? Oh, they go find the pond. They go figure out how to get in that. They go figure out how to make it happen. They gonna have to get how to get in that room. Who can see? They know. Think about it. World confined. He been in jail all this time. How he in all these rooms from penitentiary? I ain't even talking about the jail on the street. All this stuff going on the street.
Facts. This is Big Boss Film Works.
In the spring of 1983, Eddie Jackson would come home. In the spring of 1984, Courtney Brown would come home. After both being released from Milan Federal Penitentiary, they both discovered the city that they once ruled was now under a new regime. There was a phenomenon going on in this town. That phenomenon was YBI.
He was dealing with the Columbus cartel. When called the leaders, asked him out. He had pretty good influence with the government.
My problem became, I need some motherfuckers to sit at the hookup table and get this shit together, because this shit rolling. This is motherfucking rolling thunder, man. This ain't no motherfucking hustle that you gonna see every day.
We rich. It's all. We can rob. It's all. It's all.
You raided the house on French Road.
So many times.
Say it. Can you say that for us?
So many times.
We never worried about getting caught by the local or state authorities. Our fear was always federal conspiracy case. Not even really a possession case. You weren't going to catch us with it. If the local cops can catch you, you're not very good. Because the only people the local cops catch are people who are advertising they're doing wrong.
Facts.
You know, I told him to do a certain thing a certain way. He did it differently than I told him, and he ended up getting killed.
I would never know. You know, I didn't know. I just didn't know. You know, it was because maybe that was the cool thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I could look at him authentic as who he was instead of who his pops was.
But you got to understand that the level Pop and them was playing at, they wake up in the morning thinking about how to get away with their hustle. They go to bed at night thinking about how to get away with their hustle. They spend all afternoon rehearsing and going over how to get away with their hustle. It's not a hobby.
Y'all don't understand how many seriously twisted, broken people were at the beginning and at the top of the dope game.
You would be thinking that people just are exaggerating, or these are street legends. All right, because the kid says something like, in a very nonchalant way, like, Norman needs to cut that shit out. He needs to go and let them people out them cages. Let them people out them cages. YBI, of course, is one of the most famous and talked about dope operations in Detroit history. And, of course, people have heard about it through the country now, a little bit through BMF. And you probably heard so many stories about it, you might think...
That's Al Prophet.
But you probably haven't really heard the origin story, and there's a lot to it, and there's a couple different origin stories, because there's a lot of different people that use the name YBI, Young Boys Incorporated. But I'm going to tell you two deviant, dark stories about two of the people that provided the seed money And maybe even the name and the idea for Young Boys Incorporated. Number one, Mark Marshall. He's an official known. He was one of the early YBIs, one of the Martindale Maniacs. Martindale's a street.
Didn't I tell you about Martindale? Them cars would be lined up early in the morning. For real, for real. It was like New Jack City.
On Joy Road in Dexter, a lot of the guys were from off of originally, and they were like many other neighborhood groups of guys around the city, kind of a gang, kind of selling a little heroin. And in 1970, the newspaper article here will show it 6 maybe. Mark Marshall's father married, and this story is so powerful to me because it goes to the heart of what was going on in, I guess America in general, but even more extremely in Black America, of this separating of the people that were going to go into the mainstream and then the other side. So Mark Marshall's father married the heiress to Great Lakes Mutual. Great Lakes Mutual was some of the first companies formed by Black people early, late 1800s, were mutual insurance, mutual life companies. If you remember, in Malcolm X's father was run over by a train, and the insurance company refused to pay. Black people would pay insurance policies, and sometimes they wouldn't even get paid. And so Black people would form. They weren't banks. So it's called mutual.
Let me go past that.
Last night's unrest was touched off by the fatal shooting of 18-year-old Obi Wynn, a black, by a white tavern owner who accused the youth of trying to steal his car. An angry crowd of several hundred residents responded with a rock-throwing, window-smashing, burning spree through the predominantly black business district of northwest Detroit, despite efforts by Mayor Coleman Young and police officials to restore calm. Detroit, already in the grips of a devastating economic recession, was ripe for violence. Unemployment approaches 25%, more than 125,000 workers. The bar and Andrew Chinarian, the bar owner, now accused of second-degree murder, are both controversial. According to area residents, Chinarian allegedly maintained a white-only policy at the bar.
Coleman Young had only been mayor for a year. He did an excellent job. You guys Detroit would have fell apart worse and faster if Coleman Young did all he could do.
He did.
Detroit was doomed for a variety
He
of
did.
economic and social
Yes, he did.
By this,
I want to
one
get
of the
past.
guys, they could get a brick or two of heroin, and which is a big deal. A kilo of heroin is a big deal, especially back then. It's worth more than a kilo of cocaine. So he was a mid-level trafficker. Some guys that were in YBI, who were the young guys selling on the street, told me that in the late 70s, he personally stood out on Dexter and Norman Burton, whipped up in a Lamborghini, and dropped them a key of H to whip up, or maybe it was already bagged up. I don't know. Dropped them a big load. Norman Burton had an incident. So in 78, Norman Burton and a guy named Quincy Robinson. So Norman was maybe closer to 30 at this point. Quincy Robinson was about 20. And Timothy Kincaid was maybe 16 or 17. If the name Kincaid rings a bell, it's the younger brother of Benji World Kincaid, the so-called most powerful inmate in the Michigan Department of Corrections in the 70s, 80s, 90s, who was back in. They let him out on a juvenile lifer, but he got called the gun. He's back in. Shout out to him. Hope he gets back out, I guess. So Kincaid, Quincy Robinson, and Norman Burton are at a house on, where's one of them streets? Maybe 6 Mile and Coyle or Sussex or something around over there.
That's the west side.
And there's some women there, and something went on of someone tried to, gank Norman for half a key of H or something. So they murk the women, and well, the women get murked. Let's just say. So they all go on a run, but they end up Okay, so the Quincy
Let's get to Butch Jones.
There's this secret thing called the organization. I kind of put together 2 and 2 of like Benji Kincaid is this mastermind that was training people to go out back to the. This is what the newspaper also did say. And Brett and Steve.
What is happening, family? It is your man CRB Jr. here at the Motown Mafia show, which of course is the Big Boss Filmworks production. As you see,
to Branson and Maria Davis.
This is Big Boss Filmworks.
That stuff's coming up. Yeah, man. Yeah. And that, because everybody want to say they sorry or it was a misunderstanding. Often happens, especially in this world. I only actually in my life were ever in the same room with rest in peace, Butch.
With Butch twice. Once we were at Coney Island. Up there, like 8 Mile and Evergreen, the 8 Mile like
That
Omega.
Coney Island still there.
Across the street. And I looked up and I was like, it might have been me and Eddie, maybe a few other folks. And we looked over at another table and they were like, that's Big Boy over there. And I just looked, I was like, okay, that's nice. And then the last time was in the visiting room of Milan Federal Penitentiary. Because when the young boys were all coming in, Pop of them was getting out. And I'll never forget because he was wearing a pair of top 10s in the joint. Literally,
Wow.
he was in his federal khakis. They were khakis back then. With a pair of red and white top 10s on.
Wow.
Yeah. But we're now, again, we've been out the game a long time, and what happened back then happened. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And I won't pretend like there was not some real differences between all the different cliques and situations, because there were real differences, and things got serious, and a lot of things happened.
Yeah.
But what can't be disputed is if you're going to chronicle crime history or the urban streets in our community and the history of that in this town, you can't leave them out.
Sure can't.
You can't leave them out.
No, man, he's a part of the lexicon of this YBI thing.
I mean, right, and we know there's all kind of great information right here on our channel. Brother Pep and Skip did a great job.
Let me see what they got.
The history of it. Shout out to the brother Chestnut out there. I think he's still doing some stuff in his, because it's 20 different or 10 different YBI origin stories. Because everybody kind of remembers, it seems like to me, from a different way. I don't think some were more there than others were there. But these names, Butch Jones, Raymond Peoples, W.W.
Wonderful
these names
Wayne.
have become part of Detroit legend and crime history.
Speaking of block, right down the street from my grandparents' house is where Block's beginning is still.
And go to the shrine, and Jamie go on the Southfield.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get out of that.
What up? Welcome back to the Beat Factory 313 World Stories Podcast, and I'm your host, Juice. And let them know who we got back with us, my man.
Them boys, some Chestnut, baby, them boys back in the house. Them guys back in the house, man.
Each other. And when motherfuckers get locked up, you ain't seeing no money.
This Chestnut talks about
I
YBI.
think we should all get, when motherfuckers come back home, we should all get back together, man, because we still them guys, man. Yeah, we still young boys, man.
I heard Farad home. Have you talked to Farad? I talked to Farad. Have you talked to Farad?
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of times.
That's what's up. See,
Yeah,
that's
I
what
talked to him.
that communication. Have you been reaching out? Brothers want to know about, was you before Kirk McGurk? Was you around before Kirk McGurk and Black Girl?
Yeah, before Young Girl and all them. Yeah, you got, we the original. When we say original, we the first. Me, Wayne Bowman, and Chuck come out Winter Hawk. Everybody else wanted to be us, which is a good thing in the hood. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was down before Kirk and all them. Yeah, they came after me.
And when was it? When the first time you heard about Butch? Then
The first time I heard about Butch, well, when Block took me over to his mama house on Monterey. When Block took me over there, and then, matter of fact, in Bush's book, everything Bush said in his book, Block told me new stories already. Don't stick a dynamite on. I heard them stories way before he wrote that book. I've been heard them stories through Block. And Lil Mo and them, and Baby and them, through his family.
Right. And then how was it your first encounter with Butch? What was your first impression of him? Not what you heard when you first met him yourself. What was
man, it was like, man, it felt good, man. I've been wanting to meet him for a long time. I heard so many stories about him. You know what I mean? I finally met him, man. You know what I mean? And it felt good, but I was on some bullshit. You know what I mean? When I met him eye to eye, Baby already told on me, you know.
Oh, okay.
So, and he was telling me how they treated Baby when I got locked up, how they did Baby. You know, I never come in Baby. Baby did. He was young, but like I say, Block taught us the game, and Paul Menifee, Dave Menifee, Ickery, and all them, they taught us the game when we was young. So we know the game. Ain't no excuse and tell it. You know what I mean? Ain't no excuse.
How you describe Butch tactics as being the leader of running his crew? What type of leader was he?
Well, he was a boss. He's a guy. See, Butch like a godfather. Him and Block and all them, they run their business like the godfather. He like a godfather. You know, he ain't gonna dress all fancy, none of that. When to his time. He run this like the mob.
Now how about WW, Raymond, Bowman, and Chuck?
But they more down to earth. You would have more fun with them. That's with Raymond. But like I said, Bush is more business.
Hey, Christy, thank you for coming back.
With them, they more down to earth. You know, they go drink, smoke weed with you, hang out with you, fuck with hoes with you. You know what I mean? They can do all the bad. You know, y'all gonna be together. You gonna have fun with them. But see, Wayne, he was like a genius. See, Wayne and Chuck, they was more like a genius. You know, they was smart as hell. Especially Wayne, he was way for his time. I said Tupac before his time. Wayne way for his time.
Wow.
Wayne and Chuck.
Yeah, and Chuck too. Bowman too. Don't get it. All of us really is before our time.
Tell him a little bit about Chuck, man. Give us a little bit about. See, Chuck don't remember me. I know Chuck from back in the day. Him and Sandman. But tell him a little bit about Chuck back in y'all day. The young Chuck, young boy Chuck.
Chuck had the hoes, knocking off the hoes, had all the females, dressed nice, getting money, and he all, like I said, been smart. See, Chuck stuck with me more. It's us four, but Chuck stuck with me more than the rest of them did. See, now when I first started going on Monterey, across the street from Bush Mama house, when I was going over there, so I was going in there first. See, Wayne Bowman and Chuck, they be outside waiting on me, but they'll leave, but Chuck ain't gonna leave. So it could be wintertime. Chuck, he gonna wait outside and wait on me to come out of there. He gonna be mad as a motherfucker though. The only reason why you up in there, you chasing that weed, you gonna get half that damn weed. You and Lil Mo.
Chuck didn't mess with the weed.
He smoked weed then, but we all smoked weed. When I got on Monterey, a different story though. When I got Lil Mo smoking weed, so it was a different story, man. We were smoking joints. When I got over there, we smoked like 1-2 joints a day in school. When I got over to Monterey with Lil Mo and Baby, we smoking bags of weed, okay? we was selling weed. We was selling weed. That's why, you know.
Now what about Pep? Tell us a little bit about Pep. Pep was becoming what up, Pep?
What you talking about?
They trying to get back, man. I wish I had a whole lot of money, man. I get them all back, man. Because I know we all better person now. I ain't gonna get them back and we come out in the street and fuck the street up. No, I ain't talking like that. I get them back and they don't know what a man what he doing up in there. That's on him. You in that world. When you locked them get out all that long time, you in that world. You just gotta be strong in that world. Some people ain't strong, and some is.
That's right. And let them know. Let the young boys know what that world. A little bit about what went on in that world. Tell them a little bit what you seen when you was doing them times.
See, I don't see. The first thing I seen, I was in the county jail. I seen a European boy get raped in the county jail. I ain't even go to prison yet. Then
Damn.
I got to prison. I'm in Jackson. They fighting on the yard. The police shot at the yard, shot a motherfucker in his leg. I seen a whole lot of crap. See motherfucker get stabbed on the yard, all type of shit, man.
Right.
Then you don't want to live that life, man. Everybody don't make it through there. The ones who make it through there, you gotta be strong and you gotta have God on your life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what your religion may be. As long as you have relationship with God and have friendship with God, you will get through there. But you got to have that relationship with God or you ain't going to make it. You going to fall off.
That's right. Like give them a little bit of an old YBI story. They want to hear some of that old YBI from you. What you and Butch talk about? Let the people know a little bit. I know you can't tell everything, but let them know you talked to Butch and how that conversation went.
Well, we had a good conversation, man, and we talked about the incident we went through. Being a never bring it up no more. We passed that. And he said how you love my mom and us, and how we love each other. How you love my mom, I love his people. And we had a good conversation, man. And he told me, man, how Block used to talk about me when he was Block when he got out. Mm-hmm. When I was locked up, how Block used to talk about me every day, man. I said, Butch, Block talk about me every day because I was Block. That's how I met Butch. So like I said earlier, I know about before he wrote that Butch, before Butch wrote his book, man, I know everything he said in that book before he wrote it, man. Block told me everything about him, about them too, man. I was Black little man. He made me a soldier, man.
What about them popping out the guns?
Hey, Therapy, I'm talking about a Detroit legend, Butch Jones.
And throwing a hand grenade, stick of dynamite. See, I can talk about this because it's in this book. I ain't saying anything that can fuck a motherfucker up or get a motherfucker caught up. What I'm talking about, he already got it in his book. So what I'm saying in the book, but I'm saying, I heard this.
Okay, Christy, thank you for coming through. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you.
I heard him start waiting for them, man. And that shit is true, though. Yeah, yes, it's true.
Right. Did you know Papa Dupree?
And I got Butch Jones' book. I might have to read it now that he done passed. I am going to read it. I'm going to pull it out. This is beyond the, this is Butch Jones and the YBI Young Boys that he started in Detroit.
You're about to witness the very exciting story of a city and its people. It will be an adventure that will open new sights in familiar surroundings. That city is Detroit. Yes, Detroit is enjoying its finest hour. There is a renaissance, a rebirth in the city.
Damn, that was my jam. Oh, that was my jam.
In Detroit, big money in the pockets of small boys has the attention of federal investigators.
The kids work in teams, one collecting the money, another delivering the dope, others acting as lookouts, and all are decoys for one another. And when a lookout throws a signal, a busy street can become deserted in a matter of seconds. That way, a cruising...
That street they showing is Dexter, and I stayed a couple of blocks from Dexter.
Police officer sees no...
This is the 80s.
As a result, Young Boys Incorporated has expanded into Pontiac, where police say the group has been connected with at least one murder.
The most notorious drug trafficking ring in Detroit history. At its height, Young Boys Incorporated, as the gang was known, was grossing $100,000 a day.
Damn, they was.
Damn, who got it?
They
Them
was.
young boys got it. Because we was all little kids. Them young boys got it, so it just stuck.
Oh my God. And when they wore them hats, I thought they was so fine with them top 10s. They gonna cut my gut right there. Man.
Butch Jones, a.k.a. Big Boy, was born in 1950s Detroit when the city was at its height of being the king of the auto industry. The black middle class was thriving in the city of Detroit, and the automobile factory jobs were booming. And Butch had a hard-working mom and dad as well, but he knew that it was 5 of them in a very small home, and some of the things that he wanted, they just couldn't afford.
Them the project.
Leather jackets, gaiters, designer gym shoes. He couldn't put that on his mom and dad, so he decided to go out and get it himself. He started small time, just skipping school, just doing little mischievous acts. But over time, he started to rob taxi cab drivers. Eventually, he would begin to work for his brother-in-law, selling small amounts of heroin, just learning the game, and getting deeper into the street life. By the age of 16, he already had 2 murders. One while guarding a drug house. A man broke in and he hit him with a shotgun, killing him. And the other one was a paid hit. One day, a man that he knew from his neighborhood, that knew that he was trained to go, came to a young Butch Jones with a proposition, $20,000 for a hit. And when he heard the amount, Butch said, "You must want me to kill the president." But it was on a rival drug dealer who had moved into this guy's territory, and he wanted him gone. And when he told Butch, the man he wanted hit, Butch knew that if he was gonna go at him, he better not miss, because this guy had a very fierce reputation. He studied the man for about 2 weeks, learning his habits and his routine. Something that he noticed is that the man would take the trash out every day at the same time, and this would be the perfect opportunity to catch him slipping. He hid in a dumpster with a shotgun, waiting for the moment that his victim would come outside and take the trash out, as he had did so many mornings before. But this morning would be his last. And as he opened his dumpster to take the trash out, it was a shotgun waiting for him. And according to Butch Jones, he made eye contact with the man, and he could tell by the look on his face that he knew he messed up, and it was over. On a hot summer day in 1973, Butch Jones was sitting on his porch, just chilling, and he was approached by a woman that he knew named Kathy, who was the sister of his right-hand man, Leroy, and she had just told him how she got robbed, and Butch wasn't gonna let this slide. So him, a few of his guys, and Kathy went over to a spot that they thought the dudes who robbed her would be at, some apartments right off of Richton and Hamilton. And when they
Oh my God, I stayed like 3 blocks from Richton, but Hamilton was, probably about a mile down.
Door, a woman answered, and they all just bust in, asking where the guys who robbed Kathy and where's the money. But the woman was telling them nobody's here. It was just her child, and another man who was sitting on the couch. Butch told his 2 homeboys that he had brought with him to go search the rooms for the money. And as they were searching, the man on the couch, he stood up. And according to Butch, he started to try to do all of these different karate moves on him. And Butch was telling him, "Yo, man, back up. We just here to get the money and we gonna leave. We not here to hurt you." But the guy just kept coming at him with the karate moves. And eventually, Butch shot him in the leg to stop him. And when he shot him, one of the men that he brought with him came out of the room and just started stabbing the dude repeatedly. He tried to attack the mother and the child that was there as well, but Butch Jones wouldn't let him, and they got up out of there. The man who was stabbed in the apartment would later die from his wounds, and Butch and his crew would be apprehended and charged with murder. They were trying to give him life in prison, and it wasn't looking good. The only thing that saved him was the testimony of the young woman who was in the home with her child, who testified that Butch did save him when his accomplice tried to attack her and her kid with a knife. The charges would be reduced from murder to manslaughter, and Butch would be sentenced to 7 years in prison. But while Butch was away, something was happening in the streets of Detroit that would forever change the city, and it was happening right on Dexter.
Dexter and Dwayne. Oh my God, I used to be over on Dexter and Dwayne. That was like 2 blocks over. Oh my God.
In 77, a group of young kids would get together and form something legendary. Mark Block Marshall, Bernard Boykins, a.k.a. Bone Man, Reginald Chestnut, a.k.a. Nut, even though he went to jail as the crew was being formed, Chuck Lindsay, a.k.a. Choicey Chuck, Dwayne Davis, also known as WW, or Wonderful Wayne, Raymond Peoples, also known as Baby Ray, would become an original member of the crew as well, after he came home from beating a murder charge that he had caught during the Illinois riots, and this gave him a lot of fame and notoriety around the city. Another member of the crew, who was more infamous than famous, was Mark Block Marshall. who was known for being a straight-up killer in the streets and for having a lot of money. But it's said that that money came from a very dark and bloody place. Because on August 19th, 1974, 3 people would be found murdered in a home on LaSalle Street. Wallace Marshall, who was the father of Block Marshall, his stepmother Constance, and a nurse who was working in the home by the name of Patrice Williams. There was another woman who was found, barely clinging to life. Her name was Patrice Blunt, but she would later die at the hospital. Block Marshall would attempt to collect the life insurance money on his dad, but he would be stopped from doing that and charged with the murder of everyone in the home.
Damn.
He would be taken to trial multiple times.
Damn.
But each time, he was found innocent. Eventually, he was able to get his hands on the life insurance money, and this is what helped finance the start of the gang. The first spot they had was a bar on the corner of Prairie and Puritan, selling heroin, but they were quickly able to expand. Their numbers couldn't be matched, and when they did show up on the block, it was probably going to be theirs. They would drive a lot of the older drug dealers from the 60s and 70s out of business. The kids of this era were more violent, more ruthless, and they had the best product. Up until that point in the city, it had been mostly brown heroin, but the new kids moving heroin had that China white. And according to Brett, aka B Skeeter, a select few of the guys.
And Skeeter, he died a couple of years ago.
Who specialized in cooking up heroin and making it extra potent. And word began to spread throughout the city that them young kids on the west side had the best heroin in town. Anytime somebody would come around looking to cop, they would ask a veteran addict, who should I get product from? Who got the best dope? And they would always tell them, you need to go see them young boys. Them young boys got it. In the beginning, there wasn't a name for the crew. It was just a bunch of young kids running wild in the streets of Detroit, trying to come up in the drug game. But as they continued their rise to power in the city of Detroit, they realized that they did need a name. And one day when 2 of the founding members, Chuck Lindsay and Wonderful Wayne, were walking down Dexter, they started throwing back and forth ideas for different names that represents their crew and what they stand for, but they wasn't liking what they was coming up with. And all of a sudden, as they were walking, Chuck Lindsay stopped in his tracks and said, hey man, what about them young boys? They never call us by our names anyways. They always calling us young boys. Wonderful Wayne liked the name too. He was like, yeah, them young boys. But you know what? Let's put Incorporated behind it because we about our business. And the YBI was born. In mid-1978, Butch Jones would be released from prison after serving 4.5 years of a 7-year sentence. And he wanted to join what the YBI had going on, even though some of the founding members didn't want him to be down. They knew he had a reputation for being ruthless, but he was good friends with Raymond Peoples and Block Marshall, and they wanted him to be down.
Look at
So
him
he
with
was
Don
named as one of
King.
the top dogs of the YBI.
Once it got started, it snowballed. It just kept growing and growing. And it's like people that know about YBI, like they YBI to the day they die.
They would go on to control over 80% of the heroin trade in the city of Detroit. And when it came to expansion, they believed in doing it one way, by force. They had the Jeffries Projects, the Brewsters, Martindale and Elmhurst, John R. and Erskine, Monterey and Dexter.
Man, Martindale and Elmhurst was like New Jack City. Them cars would be lined up in the morning because the dope fiends had to get their hit in the morning. It was New Jack City over there. It sure was.
It was the young kids that were making it happen. It was the runners. They were rolling. And they would do it in style. Max Julian jackets, campaign hats with the top 10s. They would spend a lot of time hanging out on Martindale, where you could see flashy cars going up and down the street. They loved Cadillacs, Benzes, and especially Corvettes. They were superstars everywhere that they would go, and some even signed autographs. There are stories of kids pulling up to middle school in limousines, young teens going downtown and buying sweets at the Renaissance for weeks at a time, kids hiding hundreds of thousands of dollars in their parents' homes, and 15-year-olds going to auto dealerships and buying cars cash right off the lot. The same way that Magic Johnson would influence a generation of early 80s kids to entertain with basketball and ball on the court, is the same way that the YBI would influence a generation of Detroit kids to entertain in the hood and ball in the streets.
So yes, I idolized Magic, Deion Sanders, Muhammad Ali. Who you is, bro?
Oh, this Kurt McGirt.
YBI's finest, nigga.
I remember Kurt, when they caught Kurt McGirt, they had blocked off Dexter, Cortland. They had blocked it off, and you could hear sing, Kurt McGirt, come out. We have you surrounded. I was fucked up. I was in the house. I was like, oh my God. I remember when they got Kurt McGirt.
But even though the YBI had a very violent reputation and was known for murder, not everybody in the city was bowing down. A man named Leroy Gunn and his brothers decided to start their own crew to rival the YBI, and they would call themselves Pony Down.
Pony
They
Down.
copied the YBI blueprint and grew to equal size and power within the city. It's said that they would go into YBI territory and graffiti "I Pony Down" on the walls as a sign of disrespect. The two gangs would go back and forth in shootouts and fights, and it got so bad that respected Detroit hustler Doc Davis had to step in. Doc Davis had international drug connections, and he was one of the main suppliers for both of the crews. He seen how much they were warring against each other, and he knew that that wasn't gonna bring nothing but heat from law enforcement. He wanted to sit both sides down and explain to them, this isn't about ego or who's the toughest. This game is about money, not murder. They tried to come up with a compromise by doing best bag wins, meaning that different crews can be on the same block, and whoever has the best product, they'll win out, and it ain't no bloodshed or violence behind it. But the bloodshed would continue, and the YBI would keep looking to expand. They would try to take over the block of a well-known Detroit gangster by the name of Layden "The Beast" Simon. He was running some apartments, and he was getting a lot of money. And he said one day, the YBI just showed up, over 100 deep, and tried to take it over. He said he was surprised by this move because him and Butch Jones, they knew of each other. And he said Butch Jones knew that he wasn't to be played with at all. According to Landon "The Beast" Simon, he had a strong team with him, along with some Mexican homies that he knew. And they would go to war with the YBI. He would later be portrayed in the 50 Cent TV show BMF as the character Lamar Silas, a psychopathic gangster obsessed with maintaining his territory.
Wow. Wow.
Especially by the means of murder.
Stop the rain.
Damn.
Number one as a teenager, and have a citywide manhunt put out for him by the Detroit police. Even the mayor of the city would put out statements saying how important it was to catch Kurt McGirt. He would ultimately be captured and sentenced to 25 years in prison.
He out now. He's out now.
The murder of Joseph Brown. According to Kurt McGirt, he felt like his OGs in the YBI did him dirty because the lawyer they provided for him, he feels like that's the reason he got all that time, like they set him up for a fall. Raymond Peoples would receive 3 years, and Butch Jones, he would go on a run. But he would turn himself in March of 1983 and be sentenced to 12 years in prison for continuing a criminal enterprise. And it's said that he told on his right-hand man, Sylvester Seal Murray.
No, he didn't, because they still friends. No, he
Jones
didn't.
would continue to run his organization from federal prison through phone calls with his wife. And Raymond Peoples, he would continue to run his faction of the YBI as well from prison. And the two would continue to beef. From behind bars, Raymond would plan a hostile takeover of Butch's faction of the YBI, and one of the things that he planned was to rob one of Butch's main stash houses. The robbery was a failure, and one of the men that Raymond sent was shot in the act. But instead of calling the police, the men who shot him, they took him down to the basement, a place that Butch and his crew were known for, and they loved to use baseball bats to get the information they needed. But once you went down in the basement, you weren't coming out. Everyone involved with this attempted robbery would lose their lives. And when Raymond Peoples was released from prison in the spring of 1985, his family says that he was trying to make a change and he wanted to leave the streets behind. He had gotten married and he got his real estate license, but his past would ultimately catch up to him. And in August of 1985, as he sat in his car on the west side of Detroit, he was shot multiple times, ending the YBI heroin generation and introducing the Detroit crack era. People like Big Ed Hanser, the Curry brothers, Demetrius Holloway, Maserati Rick and the infamous Best Friends gang, amongst others, would all be running Detroit for years to come. By 1987, Butch Jones would completely lose his hold on the drug trade in Detroit from behind bars due to new charges being brought against him that he had to fight. So he was in federal prison, just waiting for his next opportunity at freedom. And when he was released in 1992, he proclaimed to be a changed man. He wrote a book about his time as a YBI boss that he said was a cautionary tale to keep kids away from gangs and drugs. But some people called it a money grab, and they said it was an opportunity for him to brag about
Yep, I got that book.
But Butch said that wasn't true, and that he really did.
Oh, shit.
Here we go. Yo, what up, though, man? What up, homeboy? How you feel? I'm all right, man, Rich.
He proclaimed to be a changed man. He wrote a book about his time as a YBI boss that he said was a cautionary tale to keep kids away from gangs and drugs. But some people called it a money grab, and they said it was an opportunity for him to brag about his time in the streets. But Butch said that wasn't true, and that he really did want to help young kids in the community. But Butch was back to his old ways. In 1994, he created a new gang where he would be the undisputed boss. He would call his new crew the Dog Pound, and he was the top dog. They were just as ruthless and violent as the YBI. Butch would make hundreds of thousands of dollars a day through his drug operations. He had multiple spots on Monterey and a stronghold on the Willard Motel, and his empire looked unstoppable.
3 different spots where we hooking up at. You know, I'm running through a key of heroin every day, and I'm making more money, man, than the president. I'm really living the American dream. I got 4 or 5 houses in the suburbs. I got every kind of car that you can imagine. You know, so now at this time, I'm really looking at like the government. You know, I can't go to jail.
But drug dealing wasn't the only way that Butch was making his money. He was also getting it through kidnapping other drug dealers. It's a story of a man by the name of Antoine Carruthers, who was kidnapped by Butch Jones in the Dog Pound and held for ransom. He was a well-known drug dealer and a rival to Butch Jones, and they felt like his people would pay a lot of ransom money to get him back. They let him call his girlfriend, and she contacted the police. But when negotiations fell through, Antoine Carruthers was shot 3 times in the face. But all of the murders and the bodies would catch up to Butch because in 2001, the feds would come knocking. And this time, they were looking to give Butch Jones the death penalty. The feds claimed that during his time as a boss of the YBI and of the Dog Pound, that Butch Jones was responsible for over 100 murders.
Damn.
He would eventually turn government informant, giving up his top suppliers for a lesser sentence. And in 2008, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. Since being locked up, Butch Jones has made numerous attempts to get a compassionate release due to his failing health and being wheelchair bound and having multiple medical conditions. But each time, His request has been denied.
It was denied.
Remains in federal prison.
And he passed away last month. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. It's going to be a